it going, folks? Welcome back to Paltauf Machine Works. It's been a little while since I put up a video, so I got this little project for our friends over at Lift Arc Studios in Roanoke that we're helping out with. Lift Arc Studios, they do a lot of fabrication, welding. Give them a search on YouTube. They're a good page. They have a little old Hendey Lathe over there. I think it's from the 40s, and he's having trouble because his cross nut for his cross slide on his lathe is all worn out. So he sent me the old lead screw for the cross slide and the old nut, and as you can see, this slides right on, which isn't going to work. So we're going to try to remanufacture this entire shaft for him. Going to be some turning work. It's a 1/2 inch 10 Acme thread with a double start. So to make things a little bit easier, cutting this internal thread, it being in such a small diameter, I would have had to ground up a boring bar to fit in there. So I had to purchase the same nut from McMaster Carr that I'm going to eventually mill out to look like this one, but I just wanted to have the thread all set, so I have something I can kind of gauge my Acme thread that I'm going to cut for the new lead screw, just to make sure it fits on there nice and it's not too loose or not too tight. So first thing I did is I ground up this tool bit to cut my Acme thread, and I did all that with this is like an Acme thread gauge, so depending on the pitch of the thread, the width or the size of the cutter is going to be different. So if you have a 1 inch, it's a lot big, or 1 thread per inch, it's a lot bigger. In this case, we're doing 10, so as you can see, it's pretty small. So I ground up this tool bit to be the correct 29-degree angle and fit inside of our 10 gauge Acme thread size. If you look up on YouTube, A-Bomb, who's a very talented machinist, he has a very good video walking you through how to grind up this tool bit. I watched the same video a while ago when I first did this a couple years ago. I just watched it again to refresh my memory as to how to grind up the tool bit, and I also have you can get a lot of this information in the machinist handbook that most people have that's doing this. So I'm going to set up and start machining this new screw for our buddies, and hope you guys enjoy. Thanks. So I turned this first section, and I only had 4.5 inches or so hanging out of the chuck, and I did that because having this much hanging out, cutting all this in one shot, isn't exactly my favorite thing to do because it tends to vibrate. So I figured if I split this up, did this first, now I pulled it out of the chuck, it's all running concentric. Now I'm going to turn this section down to the 1/2 inch so I can turn the thread on it afterwards. And then this is going to be threaded. This is turned to 5/16 right now. It will be threaded for 5/16 to 18. I'm going to finish all the other work and then grab it with a collet on this 3/8 diameter and just turn this. The only reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to have my threading tool come in here. It's going to be real close to my center. So I'll just grab it on this afterwards, just have this sticking out so I won't need a center, and I can just turn that little section there. So I'm going to turn this part and then get the thread for the Acme going, and you guys can watch all that. Okay, the thread is all set there. There's your nut spinning, goes on there. Got almost no rock here, and then as I come down a little bit more, I have just a little bit more rock, but it's which if I'm not mistaken is going to be essentially his backlash. That's pretty good fit. So I just wanted to say, you know, I did this on a CNC lathe. This is a 29-degree angle for the cutter here. The whole thing is 29 degrees. So 1/2 of it is 14.5 degrees. So I had the cutter feeding in on a 14-degree angle, which is essentially what I would have done with this compound here. If I did this on a bigger machine, I would have set this, I don't know if you guys can see this, I would have set, there's my 0, I would have set that to 14 degrees. And the reason it's not 14.5 is so that it's cutting on the leading edge of the cutter and it's not cutting on the back side, so that it kind of reduces your tool pressure, if I'm not mistaken. So when you watch the video, or you saw in the video, the chip is only rolling off the leading edge of the cutter and not coming off in the full V of the 29 degree cutter. I started cutting this and then I stopped it. This is a longer piece, so I had a lot of deflection here that you probably could have seen in the video. I had 20 passes programmed for it to cut the total thread. So 20, this is double start. 20 for one of the thread, 20 for the other thread, and then 5 spring passes per thread. So the one thing about a manual lathe is, as I'm cutting the thread down, I can take spring passes halfway into the depth of the thread so that the cutter has a chance to catch up. On this machine, it only takes the spring passes at the end of the cut. So I stopped it in the middle and I started the program over again just to give the cutter a chance to catch up. After it finished the whole thing, it did the spring passes. The nut still did not go on, so I had to run it one more time just so that this section here that's far from the chuck and not all well that supported by the tailstock, because this is such a small diameter, this caught up. That's why it's just a little bit tighter on the nut down here, because it could still probably cut a little bit more. But like I said, on a manual lathe, I could have gone, 3 passes in, done 2 spring passes, and then I could have gone 3 more and done 2 spring passes. And I can't do that on this. So I run roughly half the program and then I start it over so the cutter has a chance to catch up. So I got to just turn the section that's in the chuck down 1/2 inch, and then we're going to go over to the mill. One other thing I just want to show you guys, this being a double start thread, it's a half inch thread by 10 pitch. So if this was a regular single start thread, if I rotated this 10 times, then it would move 1 inch. So since it's double start, if I rotate this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's 2 inches. I started it, I had it butted at the end of the thread, and I came down, and this measures 2 inches. So that's kind of a cool little thing that double starts or multiple start threads do. Okay, so here's the update. This is the old one, and then this is the new one I was working on that I cut the new thread on, you guys saw me do. And after I took it out of the lathe and put the threads next to each other, I realized that the old one was a left-hand thread and the one I just cut was a right-hand thread. And after thinking about it, that makes sense. So, rookie mistake. Should have thought about that beforehand. So I went ahead and got another piece of material and recut the thread left hand. You guys saw me do it right hand, so I didn't shoot a video of it left hand. The only difference is on the lathe I have the tool to cut a left hand thread. If it's on a manual lathe, you start the cutter down here and you run it away from the chuck. Now the little CNC lathe I have doesn't allow you to do that, so instead of doing that, you flip the tool upside down and you run the chuck in reverse, and then it'll run this way, but it's cutting left hand because the tool's upside down and it's running backwards. So that's all done. You guys, I gotta cut the keyway. I think this is a keyway. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I'm gonna cut that next, and then unfortunately I couldn't buy a left hand 1/2 inch 10 double start Acme thread, yada yada. Couldn't buy the nut for that on McMaster or anywhere else online, so I ordered up a little boring bar for cutting number 10 Acme threads as well. So I'm gonna shoot a video of me turning this nut out of this piece of brass so we can match the old one, so you guys can see that. Just wanted to give you an update. I'll keep you guys going. Thanks. So it's going in. I'm going to finish this nut, the outer profile, to match the sample, give it to our friends over at Lift Arc, and if the machine seems to have too much slop in the cross feed, then I will just redo the nut, because I think the thread on the actual shaft seems to be pretty even as far as play goes in the thread all the way down, so I just may have to make it. Alright, so we're getting ready to finish this up. I've had it sitting on my bench for too long now. So this is where it mounts to the machine, and you know, that's the center of the old hole. It's all worn out, so I'm taking a 1/2 inch pin, and it's got very little play, so I'm just going to try to measure what the center of this hole is supposed to be from the mounting point best I can off this 1/2 inch pin. You know, I'll do my math, and I'll just match my new one to the same dimension here. I might leave it 5 thousandths big, just so if I have to, I can remove a little bit. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to shim it. So I'm gonna get the numbers together and get it into the mill, and I'll shoot that video. Thank you. getting ready to put the mounting hole that the piece attaches to the machine with. So my concern, this is a 3/8/16 hole that goes right into the bore. My concern with this, if I just drilled through and tapped it, I don't have the tap to chase this because I cut it single point. So I spoke with Tay, and I'm going to do like a pocket, and I'm not gonna break through into the bore, just so I don't have to deal with the frustration of trying to get the thread cleaned up afterwards. And I'm gonna change the thread to a 3/8/24, so there's a couple more threads in it, due to, you know, being a shorter hole now. So I'm gonna pocket this out with an end mill, and then come back and tap it with a bottoming tap as close as I can to the bottom, so he's got as many threads as he possibly can. I'll show you guys that part now. Thanks. Okay, so we just wrapped up this little project for our friends over at Lift Arc. Finally finished it up for them so they can get their machine reassembled and back in use. I think everything turned out all right. This has been quite the project with lots of snags. So you guys got to see me do some weird left-hand Acme double start threading. Twice I did it left hand and right hand. Then I did the nut, and I left the nut a little bit bigger than this little casting that was originally in there. Tay said that there's nothing that's going to interfere, so I just left it a little bit bigger, put the radius on the bottom just to make it look a little prettier. And this should be it for him. I'm hoping that he can get it back together. It's been probably a month and a half, 2 months now. I'm hoping he remembers how to put it back together. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment on anything you guys can add in. I appreciate. Give Lift Arc Studios a look, and like their videos and subscribe to them, and come on back for some more. Thanks again.